Alright, we got a new Deltarune Newsletter, so you know what that means. A new newsletter analysis video to go along with it. So first up is Toby telling us about his new Blue Sky account. If you haven't checked it out yet, I recommend you do, it's a lot of fun. I also have a Blue Sky account you should follow as well, link to that in the description. Next is just going over the LTS Game Change Game Maker update, which they tested a few weeks ago at this point, and they seem to have ironed out all the bugs with it. Next up after that, we find out that Noelle has snowgraved Toby Fox. RIP Toby! Now this part here is just repeating what we already know, which is that the chapters are done, but they still need to do the translation and bug testing and console ports. But the part down here says the dog will thaw with the passage of time. Does this mean that Birdly will thaw out of his snow grave and respawn as the Phoenix Warrior? Maybe. Or maybe it's just saying the game will be done at a later point in time in the future. Which, yeah, I already knew that. Well, anyway, now we are moving on to the actually good stuff. But before I get into the text, I have to talk about the image of Susie sleeping. So the first time we saw this sleeping sprite was back in the Spamton sweepstakes, and I had theories in the past that it would be used in the green room on the couch because it lines up perfectly. But with this new screenshot, we can see that she is not on the couch, but in the intro dock area that was teased last time. Now, last time I talked about this, I said that I thought the docks area might be a darker Dark World that we access from dreaming in the Dark World. And that after walking around in the docks for a little bit, we will wake up in the green room. I still think this theory is possible since the Susie sprite does line up perfectly with the green room, so I could see this sprite getting used twice. Though if that theory is wrong, I do wonder how we are going to go from here to the rest of the Dark World. As it is very different, though maybe it will just be like the Cliffs area from the Castletown Dark World. That was also like this, and that wasn't a darker Dark World or anything like that. But the Castletown Dark World is also said to have a pure dark fountain, unlike the others. Now, if the docks just end up being Chapter 3's Cliffs equivalent, do I think this is evidence that Chris made Castletown? Maybe. I guess you can see it as that if you want to. I mean, I do think Chris made Castletown for other reasons that I've talked about in other videos, so at the very least I wouldn't count this against it. But yeah, how the dock segment is going to play out is pretty up in the air right now. So now we can move on to the text part. So Toby says that right now Chapter 3 is being tested on PC. The testers say that it's fun, though they think the game needs more save points during one segment. But the important thing here is them reporting a typo that was actually intentional. So let's go over it. Typo in the text displayed after acquiring pizza scent in blank. There seems to be a typo in the text displayed after acquiring pizza scent in the blank area of blank. After obtaining pizza scent, a line of dialogue from blank contains the word pepperoni. However, it seems the correct word should be pepperoni. So what is this talking about, and what are the blacked out words? Well, the pizza scent is clearly connected to the icy pizza body spray. And while it might be too hard to figure out the first 3 blanks, I think we can narrow down the last one. It seems to be about 5 letters long. The spacing, of course, changes depending on which letters they are and if they're uppercase or not. But it seems to me, considering the pizza, that the word that is blacked out is icy in all caps. That's right, icy is real! So if this is right, and this is icy, then that means that we are going to be getting an icy darkener in Chapter 3. Which I think is very possible when we factor in Susie talking about the icy movie at the end of Chapter 2. So this opens up a lot of different possibilities. In fact, it's possible that the blacked out words above are for an icy pizza area. But I want to give my weirdly specific theory on how this will play out. So, we are going to go into a pizza-themed cooking show, and we'll have to compete in a pizza-off against Icy. That's right, we're gonna have to pizza off Icy. Ralsei will step up, reassuring us that he's great at cooking. However, he only knows how to do cauldron cooking, and he will lose instantly. Upon losing, Icy will then eat Ralsei. Chris and Susie will then have to team up to beat Icy in the pizza-off. Susie will use her newly acquired cooking skills that she obtained from Toriel in order to make the butterscotch cinnamon pizza pie, defeating Icy in the pizza-off. Upon being defeated, Icy will then spit out Ralsei. And at some point before, after, or during this, we will get the pizza scent. So yeah, that's what I think we're going to be doing with Icy in Chapter 3. Now, while that is obviously 100% right, it's still important to talk about other possibilities. So besides Icy, Tenna would also seem to fit here. So this could just be Tenna talking. Now keep in mind, the pizza scent is clearly connected to Icy, so this blacked out text could be Tenna, and all of the Icy stuff I just talked about could still be true. But before moving on, let's actually talk about the pizza scent for a moment. Is this an item? Is it a status? If it is an item, is it a key item or a usable one? It seems unclear what it is or what it will do. The only thing that seems clear about it is that it's the Icy body spray. But what do you guys think? Leave a comment telling me what you think is the text here and what the pizza scent is going to do and stuff. Okay, so moving on to the Chapter 4 part of the newsletter, right off the bat, I think this tree is not from the game. I think it was made for the newsletter. It doesn't seem to match the art style of the game at all, honestly. So the Chapter 4 part is mostly covering the Japanese translation, which is what is being worked on right now. And this gives us some new dialogue from Chapter 4 with no real context. And it's important to remember that Toby is showing us these lines specifically because of how they have been translated. So the first line is Inferno, Inferno. This seems to be dialogue from a random Darkner in Chapter 4. This seems to be what they will say before attacking. Obviously it's going to be a fire attack, and the Darkner will likely have a fire connection in some way. Thinking along the lines that the church will house the Chapter 4 Dark World, I think that this will be a candle Darkner. Churches are full of candles, so having them be a basic enemy would make a lot of sense. The next lines don't have names attached to them, but I'm pretty sure the people talking are Susie and Ralsei. This seems to just be a cute interaction between Ralsei and Susie. Nothing to really note about it. The next one is also in the same camp, as it's just Susie and Lancer talking to each other. It seems to be happening in Lancer's room in Castletown. The next one I'm not sure where it will get used, but it seems to be a pun. I didn't get it until someone pointed it out for me, but the line is Toby or not Toby, but split up to read as to buy or not to buy. But the next one is the thing that has everyone talking. It's Birdly dialogue where he says, "Listen, it disgusts me to say this, but as an act of charity, I will let you be the breeze under my wings. You, me, festival." So this seems to be dialogue directed to Chris, and there is a good amount to talk about with it. But first, I must now mourn the loss of my Birdly gets hit by a car theory. Not to be confused with Noelle gets hit by a car theory, which is a different theory made by a different person. Birdly gets hit by a car theory is of course the theory that on his way to Miss Boom, Birdly will get hit by a car and die, meaning it doesn't really matter if Noelle killed him on Snowgrave because he would have died 20 minutes later anyway. This theory is now debunked, so much for that, I guess. Now, a lot of people are using this line to say that the festival will start in Chapter 5, and I think that's jumping the gun. I don't think you can figure out when the festival will start based on this dialogue. Just because we're talking about going to the festival with a character doesn't mean we have any idea when it will actually start. I mean, we do this with Susie at the end of Chapter 2, and we know that it's not in Chapter 3. Plus, I feel pretty confident saying that whenever the festival does start, it will go on until the end of the game. I think it's very unlikely that it's a one-day thing. These types of festivals usually last a full week. And if this is meant to be a one-day festival, then I just feel even more confident that it's going to start on Chapter 7. But it seems to me, based on this dialogue, that maybe we can go and ask everyone in the class to go to the festival with them. Though, in my opinion, it will likely not really matter. Or maybe it will, who knows. And finally, we get some dialogue from El Nina. Since this is from Chapter 4, we know that this is from them in Castletown after you recruit them. So, moving on to the Chapter 5 segment, we got a new Pizza Pants sprite, and he's all dressed up. Again, I've seen people say that he's dressed up for the festival. And I would say to that, maybe. But that doesn't seem like the type of event you would dress up like this for. I think what's much more likely going on is that he's dressed up to meet his totally real girlfriend. Next thing is the new merch. First we got the Chris shirt, or is it the Kara shirt? Or is it an Azrael shirt? It's all of them. Next is the Sham plush. Toby says he needed to make a design for it. Does that mean we are not getting a Sham super boss fight? Maybe. Though I wouldn't write it off just yet. This post does talk about them having dust magic, so who knows. And then at the bottom, Toby says that the new chapters will be out next year, and that he's also working on other exciting things that he can't talk about right now. What could it be? Maybe Undertale hard mode? Nah, it's probably just more song collabs. But there's a secret message at the bottom of the page. Now, I'm not going to read it all out, so go read it if you haven't already, but odds are you already have. The message is Noelle talking about how her, Chris, Azrael, and Des would all make snow angels and compete to see who could make the biggest one, and that Des would help Noelle cheat to beat Chris. This also gives us our first Des dialogue, which is very cool, but mostly this functions as more evidence to add to the mountain of evidence that already exists for Noelle Angel. Like, Toby really wants us to know that Noelle is the angel. In my Noelle Angel video, I talked about how her connection to snow could be viewed as being connected to snow angels, and then to Noelle being the angel. And I would say that this outright confirms that that connection is correct, and was intended by Toby to be made. And the line at the end ties into her ice magic in the Dark World, and Snowgrave, and maybe even hinting at what Noelle might do later in the story. Of course, the much bigger and more important lore drop is that baby Noelle was shorter than baby Chris. Anyway, thanks for watching the video to the end. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you really loved the video, you can consider supporting the channel over on Ko-Fi. And I also have a Discord server you can join if you'd want to discuss Deltarune with me and like-minded people. Links to all of that is in the description.